David felt the steps towards him before the hand reached his shoulder, but it was nevertheless invasive into his mind. His eyes shot up to Alaris. Her face was a call for him to stand, to do as he has always done, to fight back and protect. "Stand, Cusafane," she spoke. Her voice carried her worry for him, but in the foreground was a declaration for strength, a call he couldn't deny. He pulled a heavy breath and forced his mind to a mode he knew and felt familiar, a mindset that was powerful and focused. As he stood, he felt her handing him his visor, and he donned them with fast movement. He would have to embrace the warlord, not the warrior. He scanned the room once. Everyone's eyes were panicked. How long was he gone in his mind? It didn't matter now. "Gavi, scan the system and look for gravitational ruptures, even small ones. Scanning it will take a minute," Gavi said back, some fear passing on his voice. "David, all ground teams are reporting contacts," Alaris said, her hand still on his back. Her claws dug into his jacket. "No one knows what is happening. Everyone man your stations. Tell your teams to fight only when cornered, Duchess. Ask the captain to tight beam Earth and ask for a North Star," he said before turning to his terminal. "Get as many teams and civilians as possible to the home base and recall all away teams. This exploration ship is now at war." Everyone followed his orders, even Alaris's assistants, and David opened a channel to his teams on the ground. "Sit rep," he barked into his mic. "Charlie team, hostiles down, 1 wounded, evac to base camp underway," reported Riggs. "Alpha team, new contacts east, currently engaged, resistance weak, will evac soon," said Hirth. "Bravo team, new contacts south, small force, engaging now, evac in 10, Rick responded. "Base camp under assault, local combat forces aiding, we are engaged on 3 fronts, need immediate support," Angela called out. "East side is holding, but I don't know how long we can hold it, we need help," Maya called out. "Confirmed. Reinforcement unknown right now. Stand by for updates," David said, and pulled up a map of the base camp. "Gavi? Scan done. I have found something. It's a small ship. It jumped in on the far side of the planet. Pass it to the captain. Alaris, get whatever you got on the ground side to act as a harassment force," he said, looking over to her, and she nodded back. "Hisa, get anything you got on the ground to hold the key openings in the base camp," he ordered at the coal cache herd leader, before turning his face to Jaylock. "Jaylock, have your people use their drones to spot the enemy and call out easy shots to anyone near them. Misan Henri, have your people move supplies and barricade every side but the north and south," he yelled across the command room. He turned to the terminal, pulled up a list of contacts, and found the chief. "Chief, we have a developing situation in John Cool or X-5001C. I need you to load a shuttle with as many lethal weapons and armor for the teams on the ground to use. David, I can't allow such action without. Duchess, can you send a clearance code for the dispersion of weapons to the teams on the ground?" David cut him off and yelled at the Duchess. She was stunned for a second, but then nodded and typed away on her terminal. "Request sent. Now load that shuttle," David said hard before disconnecting. "David?" Emmy came in, her hands gripping her mug tight, panic noticeable in her eyes. "The fuckers that tried to destroy the Jiao arm are back and attacking anyone," he said clearly before taking her coffee, gulped about half down, and returning it. "Now I need you in engineering. Go." She turned, killed her mug, and ran. "David, I can't lead this," the Duchess called, her eyes panicked, and her voice cracked. David locked his eyes on her and then scanned the room. Everyone was panicking. None but him or Alaris was focused, and even she was showing signs in her posture. "Alaris, call Janris here," he ordered her, his voice commanding an authority gained through combat alone. "And have her man your post? You take mine, Duchess. You stay there. I'll need you to trust me." He looked over and got a nod. He quickly opened a channel to the teams on the ground. "All ground teams on John Cool. Those you face are the demons that attempted to take this world. They are here to wipe out the Jiao Anarm, so show them no mercy. That is a privilege to those that do not allow this to happen. Fight for this planet. Do not give in. Help is coming. Just hold." He cut the channel and handed Alaris the mic as he walked over to the main display. He quickly pulled the map to the ground base on the main display, then pulled 2 more, one of the planet and one of the system, and carefully studied all of them. "Compile all data from scans and the drones on the ground, and display updated information for me every 3 seconds?" David snapped to the Vil Anis. Yes, Kikan, please do as he requested, Jaylock said. And the displays showed new markers, but they were all the same. Gavi, mark allies as blue, the native population as white, and enemies as red, David said, and watched the display change. Janris walked in looking around, but David spun towards her. Janris, you have 6 ground teams capable of fighting to a minor degree. Go and lead them and await further orders. She froze for a second, her face angered by him, but he broke and marched up to her and took off his visor. This is a war room now, and the Duchess put me in charge. Do as told or get me a better sister. The best one I know is at my station. He growled, his face an inch from her. Her face shifted a bit. Then she spoke. Yes, sir, she said, and walked to the station, taking over and getting information. David put his visor back on. He would pay for that later. Right now, he needed her to direct their kind. David, we got a tight beam back. The captain's voice came over the intercom. They are requesting a code? Code! Alpha, Whiskey, 9, 3, Delta Sierra, he said back quickly. David, what is a North Star? The Duchess asked. Military emergency protocol. It is a call for any combat ship within 1 slip jump to come to you. The jump is risky, but it cuts travel time by half, David said as he shifted the display. We need to hold and protect the Jiao Anarm for 3.5 ship days, and then we will see friendlies arrive if there is any. Why does humanity have such a protocol? The Duchess asked. We may be diplomats, Duchess, but we aren't blind to danger. This protocol isn't meant to be used at random, and there is a good chance that ship, he pointed to the far side of the planet, has called for its own backup, which may arrive in a minute, or in a day, or in a week. But I am still going to play all my cards to buy us time. The display showed the ground base slowly being filled with more people, and the teams on the ground holding the perimeter. He looked at the system display. The ground teams from the other planet were still 20 minutes out. Sit, Rep! David calls out loud. Human fighting elements are heading back to base camp, ETA 2 minutes. Alaris called back. Lithrani are scared, but they are building the barricade. Misan Henri reported. The herd is holding, but the attackers have shifted fire to them. Hisa said. The packs are fighting hard, but they will need a break soon. Janris yelled, We have started to lose drones. The Jiao Anarm are asking we run while we can. Jaylock called, The Vishtani are losing hope. They are requesting an evac. Zithphos responded, The enemy ship has started to descend into the atmosphere, Gavi added. David snapped to Alaris. Alaris, tell Alpha and Bravo to focus on the north side, and Charlie to focus south. He turned to Zithphos. Tell them that we can't run. The enemy ship is descending. He pointed to Jaylock. Switch to observation only. Don't let the drones out of cover. He shifted to face Janris. Tell them to start rotating their fighters out, no more than 2 teams fighting at a time unless absolutely necessary. His face turns to Misan Henri. Tell them they are doing a great job, and the sooner they finish, the sooner they can find a spot to hide in. Then, finally spinning to face the Clo-Cash. They can fall back as soon as the human teams arrive. They all broke to their orders as soon as he turned to talk with someone else. But he was in command, and his gaze fell on the display again. The different pieces shifted and moved. David, the Jiao Anarm want to know when we are leaving. They want us to go because this isn't our fight, Jaylock called out. Tell them the following as closely as you can. David said back and held for a second. We fight for life and liberty. We will not leave unless there is not one Jiao Anarm left to save, and if they try to force us, we will fight harder. David, we got a response from Earth. They say that a ship will be here in 2 ship days. It is called the Scythe of Dawn, the captain said, and David had to suppress a grin. The Scythe of Dawn is one of only 3 battleships humanity has, and is normally not meant to leave its spot by Earth unless it is summoned to fight a war. That is a loose interpretation of its standing orders. Its orders say that it may engage in a war that it finds necessary, not the Republic, which also means that the admiral in charge of it has to understand the power he wields. But what David found most enjoyable, there are likely to be 2 orbital assault battalions in its hull, both most likely ready to kick some ass. Get us closer to John Kuhl after the away teams from the other planets are docked? Yes, I can. What did you have in mind? Using the shield array to make a hard light wall around the base camp, force the hostile element through choke points, David said carefully. You can coordinate with the engineers. I'll see if we can. But if we can't, what will you do? The captain asked back. Get my ass in the next shuttle down, I guess. But for now, nothing but led the defense effort, David said back. He scans the displays again, 2 minutes for the other teams, then 5 to rearm and load the shuttles. Then it is a 5-minute ride down to the base camp. David punched in a code to access all the channels that the elements on John Kuhl will hear. This is command, ETA for reinforcements and supplies in 12 minutes. Stay the course and do not give them an inch. Be ready to evac wounded and Yao unarmed civilians only. Command out, he said carefully and slowly before disconnecting. David, Hans needs a clearance, permission to patch through? Alaris calls him and he nods. Go ahead. David, I have an idea, but I would need the approval of you first. It's dangerous, though. Denied. Just hold for now. Unless you plan to make a wall of fire, I don't care right now, David says back. Understood. Hands out. David watched as the away teams from all the other sites returned. Anyone that can hold a weapon and isn't part of the primary crew needs to be ready to join in the fight. Call up your teams and demand volunteers. We have to save the Jiayou unarmed, and I don't want to see us fail. Remember, these are the demons that did this to that planet in the first place? David roared out so everyone could hear him. David leaned on the table and his mind started to get foggy, but he needed to stay awake. He was in command. He reached down and made a new display, a big one right in the middle of the holo table. It read a simple message, one that would allow them to know how much longer they need to hold out. Adia Scythe of Dawn, 39, 54, 30, TA Scythe of Dawn, 39, 54, 29, ETA Scythe of Dawn, 39, 54, 28, ETA Scythe of Dawn, 39, 54, 27, ETA Scythe of Dawn, 39, 54, 26.